Terry Holloman, it's been a minute. Too long.
Too long.
Too long. It's weird that we didn't talk too much before what was it, March of last year?
Mm-hmm.
Now if we don't, it's like, oh, I need to talk to Terry.
Yeah.
Wow. People are like, well, you can just talk to me. I'm like, it's not the same.
You know what it is, man? This crazy thing that I got called like kids. So they get in the way of everything, man.
They do.
Yeah. But here we are. We haven't talked since. Have we talked? We haven't talked since the insurrection, have we?
Since the insurrection. Yeah.
Is that what we're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it. Other people are calling it different things. The inevitability, I think, is kind of is something that happened. It's just I still don't I don't think America has really wrapped their head around what happened that day quite yet, because a lot of it is so silly. Yeah. And I think there's one man to blame for that. The silliness aspect of it. The guy who dressed up like a goddamn centaur. I found the word since our last episode. Like it added such a degree of ridiculousness to it that it didn't even seem scary. But now when you see, I don't know if you saw the New Yorker video, what he wrote when he was standing at the podium, threatening Mike Pence, like, justice is coming, it's only a matter of time. I'm paraphrasing, but who gives a shit? Yeah, basically, like, your time is coming. You're going to feel the ramifications of this in a violent way. Right. It's not like they want to have a sit down détente with him. I want to
schedule a meeting if you had some time, like maybe between Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, can we just talk about the nuances of what you could possibly do to keep our Messiah / Commander-in-Chief in office? No, it was like, we want to fucking kill you.
Yes.
And then, the whole is, where is Nancy thing? Where is Nancy? Yeah, it should have been it should have been more terrifying on that day. But the pictures of him just made it so ridiculous. It was like, this is just sort of cartoonish. Yeah. But that's supposed to be one of the top 5 most secure buildings, not only in the country, like in the world. And it got bulldozed by a bunch of knuckleheads. Yeah. And clearly now they're not going to let anything like that happen tomorrow. No. There's 25,000 National Guard troops. And even within the National Guard troops, I saw just before we started, about a dozen had been booted from their duty because they had been vetted as sympathetic to what happened on January 6th. Yeah. I don't know if you watched Joe Biden today.
Caught a little bit of it. I was a little bit shaking around, but I caught a little bit of his speech.
It was good. It was a vigil for the 400,000 people now who had died from COVID. And then but to me, it's what you expect someone like Joe Biden to do. But my favorite Joe Biden headline today is he's bringing a Peloton into the White House. And if you don't know what a Peloton is, good for you. But also, you don't make that much money.
You're not in the know.
You're not in the know. Because it's both. It conflicts with his, Joe Delaware type persona, where he is a blue collar. Because it's not a blue collar thing to have. If you don't know what it is, it's this online.
I'll just let you know. It's odd that you're bringing this up. Not odd, I'd say, but coincidental, because literally right before we got on this show tonight, I Googled the Peloton. Mm-hmm. I went on to look it up because the gyms are closed still. Well, actually, they open on Monday. Just here's a little refrain. So, getting back to the gym was going to be part of my normal thing, right, Zach? That's part of my routine, making me feel just a little normal in my head. Yeah. So I go there when they say it's opening on Monday, and it's reservation only. Like, you can't come in. You didn't make a reservation. I was like, they told me I had to make a reservation to come work out. So now you have to go online ahead of time and make a reservation, and you get literally 45 minutes to work out.
That's it.
They come and kick you out.
Really?
Yes.
And are you, so when you're there, are you restricted from doing certain things, or can you have full range of the gym?
Yeah, full access of the gym. There's obviously
Okay.
no classes, but
Yeah.
I never did classes anyways. But you can go anywhere you want to. But 45 minutes, you kind of just get started.
Yeah.
And so I went in on Monday, and I didn't realize even that it was 45 minutes, like it was a 45 limit. I'm just sitting there working out, and this dude comes. He's like, "It's time to go, bud." I'm like, "What?"
Really?
Yeah, it's time to go, man. You got to go. And so I felt uncomfortable with the whole situation. So
Yeah.
long story short, to wrap it up, is like I looked online. I was like, let me see how much this Peloton costs, just so I can work out in my house. Peloton is not coming to my house.
No, it's expensive.
Peloton is not coming to the house.
I don't think you'd really enjoy it anyway.
I don't know if I would. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of people talk about it, and it's causing a lot of buzz, and it's the cool new hip thing if you can't afford it. And obviously, like I had no clue fully how much it was going to cost, but let's just say I didn't do it. And
well, you have to buy the initial. Initially, it was just a bike, but it was a bike where you could attend live classes and everything. And that now they've expanded it to you can cast it to your TV and do all sorts of different training, and you can actually. You can bring it outside the house, and if you would go for a jog, there's Peloton instructors who like motivate you. So it's just this live motivational element to it. But I loved that was a Biden controversy. Whether or not he's going to exercise with Peloton, and if that conflicts with his image, and whether or not this is a security risk.
that was the big thing.
This is beige suit Obama type controversy that I'm really happy. Like, he puts mustard on his burger type controversy that I miss. That sort of like shit talking about the president.
Like, troll, boring.
Yeah, this is fine. If Biden having a Peloton is like what we're worried about, yes, that's fine. And he's not using it anyway. Can you imagine Joe Biden trying to figure out a Peloton? Like, he's like,
he has to
Jill, Dr. Jill, can you help me figure this out?
So explain. I'll explain a little bit because I was, trying to understand it a little bit. I'm sure somebody else out there might want to understand too. The security risk of using a Peloton inside the White House or inside that area is generally just because it's connected to the internet and it's
connected to the internet, and then you do live classes with other people.
Yeah,
but I don't.
People know your location, and
I get, but he's in the White House. It's not. Yeah. Everyone knows where he is anyway. Yeah.
So the thing is, since it's such a security risk, like how I'm trying to figure out how in the hell these people think that your Peloton bike is more of a security risk than a dude that spent the last 4 years on his cell phone at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, hitting up Twitter. Like
they don't think that. But this is what I love about it is that this is the kind of controversy we'll have going forward. Like, Joe Biden might sniff someone else's hair. He probably will. He loves shampooed hair. It smells great to him.
Asleep.
Joe's napping when something should happen. Yes, bring on those controversies. Let Hannity lead with that. That sounds wonderful. I can deal with that.
Today, walking through the rose garden.
Right.
He's old.
Even the stuff involving his wife with the whole doctor. I don't even remember who it was like, she's not a real doctor.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That kind of controversy I'm good with. And that's fine. Those are like things we gin up that puts no one in actual danger.
It's not offensive. It's not offensive to anybody. Nobody's going to get their feelings hurt. They shouldn't get their feelings hurt. Somebody probably will. They'll make a controversy out of it.
But it'll be like controversy, like the sort of controversy we were used to for, the forever years before Trump, where none of us are actually in danger because of that controversy. It's just something, there's something you're not going to like about this dude. And there's something that the editorial columnists need to fill their space with. So they're going to use something like a Peloton. I'm thrilled to see that that's what's going to be. But moving on, I got COVID-19.
Oh yeah. Just by the way, you are the first person to be on the Anarchist Jurisdiction show.
Hopefully,
to have COVID-19.
Got COVID-19.
How do you feel? You are a trendsetter.
I know. I got it to be a trendsetter.
Of course, only you would.
I got it from an online Peloton class.
Security risk.
Yeah, exactly.
So Zach, do you have any idea how in the world you contracted?
Not really. No
clue.
No, that's the unfair thing about it, is that you don't get to see when the virus actually entered your body.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. It would be nice.
All this stuff where people are like, "Oh yeah, I caught it at the whatever event, or I caught it at the grocery store, or I caught it at so and so's house."
And I worked in such public places for so long, and didn't get it then. And it's only recently that I had gotten it. It was sometime around Christmas, and at some point I lost my sense of smell, but never lost my taste. But that should have been. But even then, when I did, honest to God, dude, it didn't occur to me that I had COVID.
You were in denial.
Not that I was in denial, but it was like I was in denial. Like I couldn't get it.
So here's the question. So a couple of things I've wondered about this COVID thing too. So they said the symptoms are loss of taste and loss of smell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to recall a time in my life where I had a loss of smell. Like, is this a feeling you've had before? Like, I can't smell anything. I literally can't smell anything.
It's weird because you don't realize that you do. Like I was standing near a dumpster, and yeah, just not just. It was just a nice Saturday, and I was like, let's go stand near a dumpster. I was near a dumpster, and my girlfriend pointed out the dumpster was stinky, and I was like, "Is it?"
Oh, it's not.
And I could, and then eventually, only through like type deep breaths could I smell it. But even then, because I still had taste.
Maybe it was your taste. Maybe you're tasting smell.
I don't know, because I always have such good taste. So it didn't occur to either of us that we had COVID, and it should have, because how many times have you read that like the two biggest indicators are loss of smell and loss of taste? But yeah, even that the positive result was still a punch in the face. Like it was shocking and disappointing to me, again, in that I got the sickness that was making headline news, but I didn't get it early enough to be interesting. Like I got swine flu, but I got it like 3 months after Matt Lauer was interviewing. I shouldn't say Matt Lauer. Who hasn't been sexually weird? Whatever. Meredith Vieira was interviewing people about having swine flu. It was like too late. And now I had COVID, and it's like, who wants to have me on to talk about it?
Yeah, you're like 400. You're like 397,000 person.
I mean, to survive, like we're at 8 million cases now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's right. I guess you didn't pass away. I'm sorry.
I didn't pass away from it.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
No, and I beat it.
This would be an awkward conversation.
This would be. If I had a ventilator on, yeah, you'd have to carry a lot more of the show.
Yeah. So loss of smell.
Yes.
Get your taste. Did anything else smack you? Like, because I know there's some other serious symptoms.
I'd never had the cough. The cough is the other one. And I never had a fever. I'm just a physical fucking specimen, Terry. So it's like
all those years on the Peloton.
Yeah, right. So it was. I'm COVID's worst enemy.
Look at you, you are the antidote.
Yeah.
Take some Zak blood and.
But the thing is that so I got it, my girlfriend got it, and we keep getting positive tests. She's the one who keeps getting tested, and we keep getting positive tests, which we've been told is something that may happen for like 3 months. Even though we're not showing any symptoms, and we're actually like the safest people to be around now. We're asymptomatic. We beat it, but it's still like, ugh.
Yeah.
It would just be nice to get a negative test, and that might not happen for a while. So I'm in Portland right now, and there's people I'd like to see, but I feel very uncomfortable possibly having this still live virus within me. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So
well, at least you didn't. I mean,
I just, Terry, I hate being left out of things.
No, you wanted to be a part.
I want to be a part. I want to be a part.
I still yet, knock on wood, to have it. At least not that I know of. See, here's the thing. I don't want to be the conspiracy theory guy, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to preface this by saying that. So it's I don't know if I haven't had it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who hasn't. Like, if people might just be walking around and they had it and don't even know it, because there's some people like yourself that have very mild or no symptoms at all and just carry the virus and it's done. And
I definitely felt sick.
Right.
Like I definitely felt sick. But
I've had days where I felt like complete crap too. Like I can't get out of bed. I'm tired. I'm weak and weary, and I'm just lazy. Like, am I just being lazy today? Get up. Let's go, man. I know your head hurts, but let's go.
Yeah.
And that's happened for a couple of days, and I'm like, maybe that's something else that's nagging me.
Well, the best way to test it then is spend your time amongst at-risk elderly people and see if they don't live.
Who dies?
Because you definitely have.
Here comes Terry, the grim.
Super spreader. Because you already scare Snohomish enough. Because I saw your picture of you with the axe.
I didn't even realize I was doing it, man. That was the honest God truth.
Dude, it was scary as fuck. So if you haven't seen this, go to Terry's Twitter feed. It's scrolling at the bottom. It's at Terry Holloman with a Y. Yeah.
I'll repost it. It was
please do. Because it's like anybody coming home looking like that looks like they went out and had a J.
Well, it was the thing is, I went into, it wasn't even like a big box store or a brand name, like one of the big stores, Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that, where there's tons of people milling around. I have a local little hardware store. It's like straight out of Mayberry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even kidding you. You walk in and everybody knows your name. Hey, Bob. Hey, Tom. You looking for some feed? We got the new feed and it's in the back corner there by your little, all right. That kind of thing, right? And I needed an axe that day. An axe. I have never owned an axe in my life. So I figured this was a perfect opportunity. So I rolled in, I had my mask on, and my mask happened to be a smiley face.
Yeah.
So it was like a kind of a creepy smiley face.
It looks so sinister.
With a black hoodie and black shorts and sandals. And I just was walking back to the front cashier with my axe. And I just had it like this, like with my mask on. And
like someone who's way too comfortable carrying around an axe.
In Snohomish.
Anywhere.
Really anywhere for that matter.
Yeah.
But in that situation, people were just like coming out of the aisles and like they had their like horse feed and they're like I was like, oh yeah, shit. I didn't realize it until I got up to the front and saw my reflection. I was like, oh
yeah,
it looks sinister.
It looked really scary. It looked really scary.
But now, now I have an axe. I'm a grown man and I own an axe. I mean, part of this whole process of growing up, I've had to do some things that I never knew I would ever do, like own.
Yeah, what did you need an axe for? Very curious.
So, see if I can make this as short as possible. Were you aware of the construction that I had to get done at my house because my wall was falling down in the back of my house?
No.
Like kind of close to the beginning. Well, let's say the middle of COVID or whatever. We're getting these windows replaced in my downstairs. They were the last two things that needed repaired in my house. And there's always been a little dirt spot near the windowsill, like since we moved in. By the way, this house that we live in, is 100 years old today.
Wow.
100 years old, built in 1921. The original house. Of course, there's been additions made to it since then and remodels and the whole deal, but the foundation. Right. Anyway, long story short, I tell the guy when he's opening up to doing the windows, I was like, hey, can you cut a little patch in the wall to see where this dirt is coming from? I think I might have a leak or something, some reason why there's dirt creeping in. So he calls me down, he cuts open the wall. 1 billion ants come flying out of my wall. 1 billion, not a million, 1 billion. They're everywhere. They had eaten through the whole plywood on the backside of my house and through all the studs. My house was just hanging on nothing. So we've been constructing a whole wall down here, doing a whole bunch of reconstruction in my basement. And the guys that were kind of tearing down the walls, they needed an axe. And I didn't have one.
So they didn't bring the... Okay, that's interesting because you would think like if they came to maybe tear down a wall, they would have their own axe, but you had to provide the axe.
So they had torn down everything else was pretty like they were done everything, pretty much of the demolition, right? There was a big giant log, like a big stud, like this olden wood stud in the wall that they had to just bang out of there, and it wasn't gonna get it. They could have got it with the saw; it would take it forever. So we just wanted the axe to get a little extra heave on it. So yeah. So now I got an axe. And the long story short is even when I got home with the axe, he was done. The guy was already done.
So what happens? What becomes of the ants?
Oh, so the ants were gone on day one. So the reason they were there is because they were moisture ants. See, I'm learning stuff as a grown man that I never knew before. So there were moisture ants. So what happened is there had been the water was seeped in through the outside of my house, the siding, and it soaked all the plywood inside on the wall. And so the ants were attracted from the outside to this water. And so they had been there for decades, literally decades.
Wow.
Because they destroyed the whole inside of the wall.
I mean, that's like what, 200 generations of ants probably.
Easily. Easily. Yeah. So yeah. And so we called the exterminator to find out exactly what was going on. They're like, yeah, these are water ants. As soon as they get rid of the water, they won't be here no more. So they exterminated them and done deal.
Let's talk about also your other new interests, Terry.
Okay.
Because I think it's fascinating that you're just getting into The Sopranos. The Sopranos, if you don't know what The Sopranos is, it's the best show. For me, it's top 3 shows of all time. Probably because I grew up in Jersey. It is, yes. Yeah. It is a show about a mobster family told in a weird like 50s sitcom sort of way where you get to know the family because there's mob movies, but they don't normally focus on the family. This was like family centric, and then also the father happened to be in the mob. And the show ended in 2007. And you're a long way, I think, from the ending of the show. Do you know how the show ends, by the way?
I'm in 99. I kind of know. I know how it ends. I don't know who the players are, but I remember when it was ending. It was like a huge thing, a lot of controversy. Like, oh my God, that's how it ends?
Yeah.
So
you might be delighted, you might be infuriated, but that's all I'll say about it. But I'm thrilled that you're getting into it because this is my show. I've rewatched the show in its entirety 3 times, which isn't as much as I've done, say, like The Office or something. But this show is a much bigger commitment than that show.
Yeah.
What are you thinking so far?
So It's interesting that you described it the way that you did, because that pretty much encapsulated it. So all these years that I've been hearing about Sopranos, I've been hearing about how great it is, how it's this and how it's that, one of the greatest, TV dramas ever made. I always envisioned it being just strictly mob movie, like Godfather, Goodfellas, on steroids. Like they just run around pulling jobs and killing people. And that's not it. It's really about this guy and his relationship with his family, about how he, dealing with different problems that middle-aged men deal with, anxiety, fears, and am I doing things right for my family? Just all these different things that I'm kind of looking at. I'm not saying, not to say, well, I'm not saying I'm a mobster, but I think any man that's at that stage in his life can relate to some of these things that these guys are going through outside of their mob activities. And then you just combine that with the mob activities. It was
there's a degree of admiration, obviously, that America has for the people who did these things, or the people that continue to do these things. So not to hijack your, because I love to hear more about this, but I will say this: I didn't grow up in where I grew up in Jersey, but I didn't grow up in where The Sopranos was shot. But I know that there, especially in this Trump era, there is a significant amount of admiration for these cold-hearted murderer criminals, and a lot of people who wish that they actually kind of ran the country. And there's also people who wish that they had the intestinal fortitude to live the way that they lived, which is sort of touched on in Goodfellas and a little bit in The Godfather, very, very briefly. But the reason I feel like mob stories and mafia stories are always timeless is that there's a part of all of us who think that, even going back to the 1920s mobsters, who kind of think that it's sort of cool what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a part of us, again, like you said, that just we're enthralled by the people that have the gall and the guts to live that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And and we kind of, as obviously we see through this entire deal we've been living through for the past 4 years, there's something about the tough guy, or the strong man.
Yeah.
That a lot of, especially men, aspire to be to some degree. And I think they kind of look at that and like, man, I kind of wish I could be like Tony Soprano. And here's the thing. So like I said, where there are some things I see, I can relate to Tony, just being a dad of teenage kids, that you're like, what do I do with this kid? Like this kid is, one kid is running rampant and, doing what, I just finished the episode where the girl throws a party in the grandma's house, house, and gets drunk and they're throwing up and then, taking ecstasy and all that shit.
Right.
How would you deal with that as a father? And how do you discipline your kid and not seem too tough or seem too lenient? All the while you're whacking guys, right? You setting up these illegal activities. So I think on one hand, you relate to it, but on the other hand, if you're a normal person, you think how do these two people coexist in the same person, in the same body? One side is crazy.
I think it was the first time a TV show really revealed some dark parts of American psyche, because you root for Tony the whole time. And there's been shows since, like Dexter, where there's someone who is actually the villain, who is murderous, who is a criminal, but you want them to win. And the entire time, at least this was my experience, you want Tony to come out on top. You want him to beat the feds. You want him to beat the rival families. You even want him to beat these sort of innocent neighbors that he ends up doing bad things to. Not to spoil it.
You're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me, Zach.
And I think Tony Soprano was very much like Donald Trump.
You know what's
In the way that a lot of people sort of like don't care how he got there, just care about the results, and would stick with him no matter what. And there was never a moment during the any time that I watched The Sopranos where I was not on Tony's side.
Yeah.
Even though Tony was clearly and is clearly and will remain clearly the worst person in that show. He's a bad person.
Like kind of like Trump. He's very, and then maybe it's the deal with that lifestyle. Very transactional. Like everything is pretty cut and dry. Like you know, like I'm at the point. Like again, I'm still early in the series where I'm in season 2, where like it doesn't matter if you used to be like my good friend or my uncle or my mom.
And he's villainous in every way you could imagine. He's villainous in terms of his financial dealings. He's villainous in that he will turn on his friends, like you imagine. And then he's also not a good family man. I mean, he screws around on Carmela all the time. I don't know if that's happened by season 2, but you could imagine that it's going. Okay, yeah, it happens quite frequently. Yeah, and yet you're like, yeah, but I'm kind of in Camp Tony. The whole time.
Back to the comparison between him and the outgoing president is like a normal person can make that disconnect. Like can be like, okay, that's a character on TV. I root for him on television, but if this was a person in real life, like if this dude lived down the block from me, I'd be like, screw this dude, man. You know, like I wouldn't put him on a pedestal and be like, yeah, I want to be just like Tony, man. Tony's running our neighborhood watch. He's running our homeowners association. Like,
right.
Tony.
But that's. I'm so glad you brought it up that way, because I think there's so many. Trump never became more than a character on TV that you could believe in, and this will be the last time we ever talk about him. Because anybody who had direct dealings with him. Just like with Tony, like if you lived in Tony's universe, you would hate him, and justifiably so, because he had done something rotten to you. Whether you were related to him, like his sister, or married to him, like his wife, or had worked for him, you would hate him. But we're watching him on TV, just the same way when people were directly involved with Trump dealings, they ended up hating him. But so many Americans ended up, if you were in Omaha, or if you were in Wichita, or if you were in Jefferson City, sorry, Jesus, I just ran out of Midwest cities quick.
They're few and far between.
Yeah. you would only see him on TV and root for him. And like when you brought up that you had just started watching The Sopranos, it weirdly like it clicked this thing in my head, like, holy shit, that's the best TV embodiment of why people are into and remain into Trump, is that to them and to all those nitwits, traitors, insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol, they've never met him personally, and they've only seen him on TV and the persona that he plays on TV. And the funny thing about it too is that Tony has such contempt for a lot of the people who try to stand up for him and work for him. The same way Trump has massive amounts of contempt for those who storm the Capitol, like on a one-by-one basis.
Right.
But as a collection, he loves them. Like, you know, the video he made halfway through the day that got his Twitter permanently suspended, like, I love you, you're special and everything. Dude, these are the same people that you've kept out of your neighborhoods, prevented from dating your daughter, who you are disgusted with for your entire life.
Never have lunch with them.
Never
have them in your house.
Never.
Never have them in Mar-a-Lago. You would never have them on the grounds.
They couldn't afford it. And even if they could, you would never let the weird centaur in. And Tony and Donald are so similar in that way, and so is Tony's fan base watching on HBO and Donald's fan base watching, on Fox News. Like I kind of think that there's an amazing parallel there. Like The Sopranos to me is actually a really, happenstance, not ever purposeful, but great explanation as to why there's so many people who are just absolutely in love with this man.
Is that so? Here's the big question I have about that. And again, I agree. I think that a lot of people, the whole thing was like a big television drama, over the top television drama, like
right.
like 4 years of WWF, like every single day, over the top drama. But is it more reflection on the man that Trump is, and the fact that he was able to exhibit those traits on a daily basis? That's who he is. Or is it the American people who were sucked in, some sucked in so far that they were willing to travel to Washington, D.C. and commit multiple treasonous felonies, be willing to storm into one of the most sacred buildings in the country, in the world for that matter, assault police officers. Like, first, let me go back to that, because
we should let's actually talk about the police officer, because I did send you like a really smart ass text on that day that like, well, I feel like this might send the Blue Lives Matter movement back a little bit.
I have not to this day seen one Blue Lives Matter poster.
No,
anyone. Like, it's
done.
Yeah, like they killed the cop. They killed it. They didn't throw bricks. They didn't throw fireworks. They didn't yell at them. They didn't call them pigs. They didn't say all these bad things about their mother. They killed the dude. They tried to kill several other police officers. They said that was their aim and their goal. Yet we have not heard one peep from everybody who all summer long, whenever you said Black Lives Matter, yeah, Blue Lives Matter too. Where are you at? No,
gone. That movement's dead. Blue Lives Matter is that's a unjustifiable movement at this point, because it never should have existed in the first point, because it was a gross misunderstanding of what Black Lives Matter was.
It wasn't a misunderstanding. I think it was used to bash it down.
It was
to batter ram the whole movement down.
I feel like it was. It definitely was, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that all lives matter was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like Blue Lives Matter never made sense to me, because if a cop got murdered or shot, there was an investigation. And if you kill a cop until January 6th, like the entire force was going after you.
They're coming to get you.
You were prosecuted and you were sent to jail.
If you're lucky.
Or just, just, handled with differently. Where the difference was, Black Lives Matter, there were, cases of people being murdered on camera and then nothing happening. And that was why one wasn't really, to me, a reasonable reaction to the other. There was never a question as to whether Blue Lives mattered, because their cases were completely followed up. There were convictions, and then there was a parade. There was a 21 gun salute, and then there was a plaque. There was, all this sort of pomp and circumstance surrounding it, which justified it. So. I don't disagree, but no one ever questioned whether or not Blue Lives mattered. No one ever. If a cop died, that became a thing where, if a Black life was taken, and to me, the biggest miscarriage of justice is still Eric Garner. That was the one that was like, okay, well, worst. If you don't remember what happened to Eric Garner, look it up. But it happened on. I mean, seriously, like, I'm not going to educate you. He was selling Lucy's. I've bought a Lucy, so I guess, like, you know, I've been as guilty as he is. Lucy's are loose cigarettes. You sell them. Someone can't afford a whole pack. In New York, it's tough to. You have to be kind of a wealthy to afford a whole pack. Thanks, you know, Bloomberg. But he was selling Lucy's, and then he got choked to death, and it happened on camera. And
I can't breathe.
I can't. Yeah, and
I can't breathe.
No convictions.
13 times.
Yeah, and wasn't fighting back or anything. But and that's, to me, that was the most egregious offense of everything that the Black Lives Matter has, like, now campaigned for. And then, but if it had been reversed, where someone tried to arrest him for selling a Lucy and he had choked an officer to death, that Eric Garner would have been probably shot on sight, and there would have been a parade, and there would have been, you know, the officer laid to rest, because blue lives have always mattered, and until January 6th, because all those people, I have not seen anything really honoring by the people who supposedly back the blue. I've not seen one of those motherfuckers put up anything to say in remembrance. I've not seen a GoFundMe. I have not seen a sympathetic post. And these are the people who always had back the blue, or their version of the American flag, which is, by the way, goes against flag rules, where they turned the red stripes into blue stripes.
Yeah.
Fuck you for that. And
when they would say stuff like play stupid games, win stupit prizes, or if you just follow the law, if you just obey,
comply. Comply was always the word. Comply. Just comply. That was like Tamir Rice should have complied. Tamir Rice actually is the second most egregious. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old boy who was shot playing in a park with something that looked like a real gun. He should have complied.
Was a toy gun.
Yeah, which I played. I used to play with toy guns.
Didn't get
shot. Yeah. But the whole comply thing, like, comply. If he had just complied, if George Floyd had just complied, and if Eric Garner had just complied, which, by the way, by the end, he wasn't not complying. He just couldn't breathe anymore.
Laying right here, choking to death.
And then you see them, and there's a video, and I don't know if you've seen it, Terry, and there's fucking issues I have with the Black Lives Matter movement, especially white participation. Without a doubt. But you see them, you can see a video. It's, I don't know if you've seen it. It's kind of like a hawk's view of it. And they're beating him to fucking death.
Seen it.
Sometimes with American flags.
Yep.
And mostly with Trump flags. And they're beating him to death. It's like, these are the same people who are like, well, if blacks would just learn their lesson and comply. Just comply. That's
it. And so, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I in the world of, like, you know, there's the world of streets, in the streets. I know that even, like, the biggest, like, gangsters, drug traffickers that are African American, they know not to mess with the police like that.
Right.
They would never want to kill a cop. They would never want any of their capos or any of their street soldiers to kill a cop, because they know what happens immediately when you kill a cop. Mm-hmm. Or when you fight a cop, or when you hurt a cop. You're going to get the entire wrath of that police department raining down on your head, which is A, not good for business, but B, not good for your life. They know better than that. So I say all that to say this. What kind of person, like, what state of mind do you have to be in to be facing off with a police officer and decide, I'm going to beat the shit out of this cop right now? Like he's standing there doing his job. He's not, breaking the law. He's not infringing upon my rights. But I'm gonna beat this cop to death. Like, I can't think of anything in my mind that I would be like, okay, this is the opportune time for me to beat this cop. And these are supposedly rational, sane people who are there to support the president, here for a rightful cause, a righteous cause. How is anything that you do righteous after that?
It wasn't righteous leading up to it, but yeah.
I'm just saying, like, what?
No,
it's
not.
Know what frame of mind you would have to be in, Zach, to like?
No,
I'm gonna beat
to kill anybody. I mean, for me to kill a pedophile, I couldn't do. Like, I don't have that. I don't have that level of violence in me. And then if you saw what happened on January 6th and thought that this was a group of patriots, then maybe you're the first person that I could see bludgeoning. Because I just, you're unfixable.
Yeah. Let me tell you what has been coming to my mind as I watched it happening, and then as I watched the video from the New Yorker.
Yeah.
And I was able to hear what was going on in there. So, like, for the majority of my life, when I'm studying the history of this country and I'm looking at, the slavery and the post-slavery segregation in the Jim Crow South, when they would round up Black people and hang them or burn them, and we would see the pictures, and it would be a bunch of white people standing around a tree and a Black man hanging, and it'd be kids around and everybody is smiling and happy and all that kind of good stuff. I know we've all seen those pictures. And I used to always think, like, who are these people? Like, is there anybody that how can it be a group of people that are that evil that you would stand around gleefully as someone is being hanged? Yeah. And I thought that had to be like some kind of recessive gene that we kind of, got rid of over time. We kind of mutated that out.
Like redheads.
The people that were there on January 6th, I saw that. I saw that in them. Like, there was so much anger and vitriol, and for no reason. Like, I'm trying to figure out why you would be that angry that Joe Biden was about to be president.
Joe Biden, of all people. I would even get this shit if it was like Bernie Sanders or like imagine AOC. I would be like, yep.
Okay, you might have a point.
Yeah, she's kind of pisses a lot. But Biden's like the least controversial person. And then, yeah, it's funny. It was like 2 days after 2016 when Trump won. And, I'm a white dude. It wasn't going to affect my life all that much. But I saw a lot of other white dudes tell other people, like, you need to get over it. And then a lot of those people stormed the Capitol with Confederate flags. Like, who's the one who really needs to get over something? Like, if you're bringing in a Confederate, and then if you say something like, well, slavery was a long time ago, and a lot of the people here weren't even directly affected by it or whatever, but then also fly a Confederate flag, do you not understand the disconnect between those two things? Like, if you don't understand that, then we are sort of doomed in a way to, I guess, have this conversation forever and ever and ever. That slavery's impact is not over. And if you claim that it is, but also will say something like the South will rise again, then how do you not see the stupid hypocrisy of your own stupid hypocritical being?
It is so hypocritical. It's saying, why are we still talking about history? Forget that history. It was so long ago, but never forget our history.
Yeah. Well, here exactly.
History.
Yes. And then here, the other thing too is like, well, slavery was at a certain time in our nation's history that we've clearly moved on from, but the Constitution's fucking perfect.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Unquestionably.
1776, these men wrote stuff, and we can't do anything. We've made amendments to it, and those are all. But no one knows any amendments past 10 at best.
If they know that.
If they know that, and I'm not gonna pretend I do, but it's like we think that there's such a purity to some of our history that can't be at all changed. The Second Amendment being the best example. Like, this was written in the late 1700s, and it's written by an amazing group of men, and clearly they were brilliant. But flash forward to 1860, and it's like, yeah, but they didn't know what they were doing. It was just of the time. And clearly things have changed since then. So, but then go ahead, Terry.
No, I was just going to say, like, for instance, when they wrote the Second Amendment, and they said we should all have, the right to bear arms, to stand up against tyranny of an unright government or whatever it is.
Yeah, organized malicious.
Yeah, their guns were like, ha!
Oh, seriously, it was forever between shots.
You get like one shot every 3 minutes.
That's why the Revolutionary War today would take like 2 days. It just took forever.
It's my shot.
Yeah. Yeah, when historians are like, well, America fought for its freedom for 7 years. It's like, because it took fucking forever to reload.
Why don't you just walk over there and slap him?
Serious. I don't even think guns were the best. Yeah, they weren't. If like at that point, if I had like an Easton aluminum bat versus whatever gun they had, I'm taking the bat. Taking the bat. I'm wrapping some thorns around it. And I'm going Negan.
I'm going Game of Thrones on you.
Yeah. But tomorrow is Inauguration Day, Terry. And I think it's something that should be canceled. I don't like it. I don't like Inauguration Days. I love this was actually other than it provides moments like this. Garth Brooks is going to play tomorrow. And said, this is not political. This is just a statement of unity. And then Twitter was like, this is the most political thing any country singer's ever done. It's like, okay,
like, great. You didn't hear what I just said?
You didn't hear what I just said. But it's like, I kind of just wish that this is why we have this cult of personality that becomes more important than the presidency, is because we have days like Inauguration Days. Like, let's just have a quiet handshake in the back. It's I love the pomp and circumstance. I love the celebration around Christmas, but it's like there's also, they used to just have this humility where it was just this one day that you celebrated in back rooms with your family. What if it was just, and obviously it's not going to happen tomorrow, it was just this quiet transition of power in the Oval or wherever it happened. Lady Gaga didn't fucking play because I don't need to hear from her tomorrow. Seriously, like what is? And
she's brilliant.
I don't have a problem with her. She's a musical
genius.
She's just annoying to me. Just don't make it a Super Bowl halftime show.
So here again, questions for you, Zach, and anybody else who might be out there is. To me, inauguration became a larger than life thing 4 years ago when it became my inauguration is going to be the biggest ever, the most expensive ever, the most flamboyant ever, bigger than Obama's. I don't recall like any particular inauguration ever before that, except Obama's first one. And the reason I remember the first one because it was so monumental to have an African-American man in the White House. And I just remember it because I was like, okay, so my daughter's like, now anything is really possible. Now we see it. Outside of that, I can't remember Bill Clinton's inauguration. I don't remember George H.W. I don't remember George W. I don't remember them.
I
I
don't.
think, and I'm sure after this one's gone, I'm hoping they'll go back to non-memorable events.
Yeah, you have a fair point there. But I do remember them, but it's not like I remember Super Bowl halftime shows better. Like I remember that's a bigger announcement than who's going to play. But it's like there's security concerns this year.
Yeah,
So why not just make it small? And I think that because everything, let's face it, Trump changed everything in a lot of ways. So from now going forth, let's just make the president someone who just only is worth $400,000 a year. Let's just make him like someone who is truly, and I think Biden is a good kickoff to this because I wouldn't pay a full mill for Biden. Like he's a shitty free agent. He's 47-year-old
like
Kyle Korver.
Like a special teamer.
Yeah,
he does really good on kickoff coverage.
No, right?
You kind of
you bring him in for locker room morale. Yeah, yeah. Let's stop with like I don't because it's not good. Not that it matters. But it's not good TV. And I think that the more we can do to reduce the cult of persona surrounding the presidency, and if your kickoff birthday party is like with 200,000 people and Lady Gaga and Jennifer Lopez, I think Jennifer Lopez is playing, and
everything else.
And then you start as a celebrity, and celebrity is so much more about persona than actual, anything
honestly,
meaningful.
Zach, here's the thing. I honestly, with every fiber of my being, completely wholeheartedly believe we won't have that problem with Joe Biden at all. Even when he's saying like some of the like most meaningful things he could say as a president-elect.
Yeah.
It's just so mundane.
Can you imagine who Joe Biden asked for to play their inauguration? Like in his heart of hearts, he's like, "Is Glenn Miller still alive?"
Buddy Holly? Maybe actually impersonator.
Because Joe Biden would be like it would be like the remnants or like the kind of memories he had of spending time with Barack Obama. Is like, I think he said like Houdini once. Like, is Houdini still a band?
The Earth, Wind, and Fires?
Yeah, just like Jenna Summer, is she still alive?
We'll survive. Hey, listen, man. I have to talk about this before we leave because this is it. This is gonna be our time to talk about it.
Yeah.
We have a new president coming in tomorrow at noon, and I just wonder. And this is I don't know if anybody else out there has thought about this, but I have. Do you think we are ever going to have another president that stands up like in his press conferences and just calls people stupid? The people ask, like the people ask, can you imagine Joe Biden standing up there and you say, "Hey Joe, what do you think about the climate control?" That's a stupid question. Why would you actually stupid? I've never heard anything so stupid in my life. Next question. No, shut up.
Yeah.
No, you're done. Are we ever going to see that again? It's gone.
Oh, there's so many "are we ever going to" again. Like Joe Biden definitely never had sex with a porn star. Definitely didn't.
Definitely not.
And then he definitely never had sex with a porn star, and then America didn't care 24 hours later.
No, not at all. Like, all right.
I don't think that we'll ever see like the Ohio State win a championship and get served hamburgers from McDonald's.
Big Macs.
Hamburgers, yeah.
Hamburgers. We're never going to see that.
I don't think we'll ever see Dr. Jill Biden naked.
Never.
No.
Never, ever, ever. I don't think there'll ever be a hurricane in our country and Joe Biden show up and shoot jump shots. This bounty. Oh, you guys had a hurricane? Take this toilet paper.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of nevers.
We're never gonna see that again.
I know.
Never. Oh, I don't know. It's gonna.
How many times have you thought? Be honest. Something happened over the last week, and you went to check to see Donald Trump's Twitter.
100,000
I know, right?
times. Like, wonder what he thinks about this.
I know, and it's not there. It's not there.
It's not there. We're not gonna see that anymore. We're not gonna see just a random tweet where he cusses out a foreign leader from another country.
Right.
Like, fuck Japan. But Joe Biden's not gonna say that.
He's not gonna say that.
He's not gonna have people like Little Rocket Man. We're never gonna hear anybody call Little Rocket Man again.
Definitely not. We're not. Kamala might have some good nicknames.
Yeah, she's kind of sharp, but she's just gonna be cutthroat. Yeah,
she is gonna be cutthroat. Yeah, she'll do stuff that's actually hurtful.
Yeah, some shit that means something.
Yeah,
instead of just calling people names. Imagine now again. It's just all coming to me like press conferences, like just impromptu press conferences that meander on for an hour and 30 minutes about nothing.
Nothing.
It's not gonna happen anymore.
That I could actually imagine because I don't know how far Joe Biden is from just.
Joe, stick to the script, and when he's
that's true.
He's out. Like it's nap time.
Yeah, he will get too tired. He's too tired for that. You're right.
Like we forget, but like Trump would come up, like you weren't expecting the press conference, and he'd just get on a roll and just start off the cuff and start bashing people, going crazy. This. I didn't even ask you about that, but cool. Keep going.
Joseph could come out in sweatpants and a University of Delaware sweatshirt, yawning with an old-timey candle. Like, what can I do for you people?
like Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah, like Ebenezer, yeah, exactly.
What are you doing here? I have my sleep.
Yeah, the POTUS Twitter feed is going to get really, really boring, which is fine with me because I never needed it to be exciting. There's plenty of other exciting Twitter feeds.
Oh my gosh!
Because and someday I feel like we have to devote more time to this. Kim and Kanye are getting divorced, and I think I finally formulated my thoughts on it.
Oh.
And yeah, and. That's the kind of thing that we can talk about again. Like that'll matter. That'll be fun. Dustin Diamond.
Consequential stuff like that.
Yes. All that shows getting canceled too early or getting renewed for too long. Gay characters getting played by Black people. Like it's just all this. Nick Saban.
Unfortunately, though, I hate to say it. I feel like the Trump story isn't going anywhere.
I kind of do. I think
he's not going to be the president, but the story is not going anywhere.
The story is not. No.
Yeah, he's still going to. His story's not going anywhere.
No, would be the best thing to do to make it silly, though. Lifetime should make immediately an original film about the story of the Trump presidency, because then it'll just seem super silly and not even like something that we actually had to deal with.
You know what's super silly, Zach? He's still being impeached.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Going on, right?
Mitch McConnell's like totally for it now.
He's still being impeached.
I know.
It's
not even over. Oh my God. Well, tomorrow should be an interesting day.
Take notes.
And then, we'll wake up the next morning and something else will happen, but it'll be less interesting. And that's fine. That's totally fine. That's totally okay. Like, I feel like no one after Truman released the second A-bomb like a month later was like slow news day. Like they were just it was like, okay, we're kind of good now with the end of all this shit. Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
I know.
Uh,
But yeah, well, finally, good to talk to you again. Let's
Yes,
do this
sir.
again on Thursday. We'll do a
Yep.
post-inauguration recap. Jason's there for whatever reason. Jason Rands and just
DC?
wasting company's money. Yeah.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, he'll be fine. All right. Well, have a good night, Terry. Have a good night, America. Tomorrow by noon, we'll wake up to a new administration. Some of our student loans will be canceled. Another stimulus might happen. Yeah, I don't know. I think NCAA players are going to get now paid 7 figures each. It's another thing.
Socialism.
Right.
Socialism.
James Harden is going to be forced to go to the Sixers, where he should have gone in the first place. Hockey is now the second most popular sport.
Behind baseball? America's pastime?
I think bridge is actually Joe Biden's favorite sport. All right, dude. Have a good night.
All right, Zach.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.
Later.
See ya.